This story starts with a huge promise. We're talking billions of pesos for projects that were supposed to protect entire communities and help them thrive. But it ends with one of the biggest corruption scandals you can imagine. And, right in the middle of it all, a key investigator found dead under very mysterious circumstances. Okay, let's get into this story of promise and, well, peril. So where does this whole thing kick off? Well, like any good mystery, it starts with a dramatic, tragic event. One that sent absolute shockwaves all the way to the top. You gotta remember the date, December 18th. It's just a week before Christmas, the country's winding down for the holidays, and then a really grim discovery is made. And we're not talking about just any official. This was someone right in the thick of a massive, unfolding investigation into these public works projects. The timing alone is, well, let's just say it's incredibly suspicious. The official report, it's just so stark and chilling. She was found near a riverbank in Benguet. Her death immediately raised way more questions than it answered. And here's the absolute crucial point. Maria Catalina Cabral was not a random victim. She was a former high-ranking official, a real insider. And get this, she had been formally questioned by investigators just 15 days, 2 weeks before she was found dead. She knew things. So, to really understand why her death was such a bombshell, we need to rewind a bit and look at what this was all about to begin with. You see, this wasn't just about concrete and government contracts. It was about a huge promise made to millions of people. Before all the scandal, there was this incredible vision, a vision of completely transforming communities, protecting them from disasters, and really unlocking their economic future. These projects were under agencies like the National Irrigation Administration, and their official goal, the whole reason for being, was to build critical infrastructure, things like dams, irrigation canals, flood barriers, that would just fundamentally make people's lives better. So how do we know exactly what was promised? Well, it's all laid out in these super technical documents called environmental impact statements. And these are not glossy marketing brochures, okay? They are detailed scientific plans that outline specific, measurable benefits. Now, look at this number, 13,718. That represents a massive promise. According to the official documents, in just one project area, the annual rice production was projected to jump from about 5,000 tons to over 13,000. For food security, that is an absolute game changer. And it wasn't just about rice, not by a long shot. The promise was so much bigger. We're talking strategic flood control to save lives and homes, real poverty alleviation, new ways to produce fish, and even parks and recreation for local families. I mean, on paper, this was nation building. But, somewhere between that perfect promise on paper and the reality on the ground, something went terribly, terribly wrong. And the first public clue came from the very, very top. All it took was one word from the president to signal a massive crisis. On October 11th, he used the word disturbing to describe what his team was starting to find in the flood control budget. And what was so disturbing? This number. A staggering 100 billion pesos in contracts were immediately flagged as suspicious. Okay, so this chart right here, this really shows you the heart of the problem. A full 20% of the entire flood control budget, that's the P100 billion, went to just 15 contractors. Anyone who knows about public contracts will tell you that kind of concentration is a giant red flag. It just screams of things like bid rigging or shady insider deals. So right after the president's statement, you can bet an investigation was launched. And I mean a massive one. We're talking about a nationwide probe looking into almost 10,000 individual flood control projects. The scale is just mind-boggling. So as the investigator started to dig, the story just got bigger and messier, and it started to pull in some of the most powerful people in the entire country. I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows you how fast everything went down. October 11th, the president sounds the alarm. Less than 2 months later, December 3rd, Maria Catalina Cabral is brought in for questioning. Just 15 days after that, she's dead. And by the end of that same month, the ombudsman confirms cases are being built. The speed of these events is it's breathtaking. The investigation's closed-door hearings became a real who's who of political and business power. We're talking incumbent senators, a former House Speaker, a former budget secretary, the contractors at the center of it all. And right there among them, giving her testimony, was Maria Catalina Cabral. And these hearings, they were not just for show. They produced real, actionable intel. Based on what they heard, 4 senators were formally recommended to the Ombudsman, that's the government's anti-corruption watchdog, for a much deeper investigation, with an eye on building a formal case. Which brings us right back to today, where this whole investigation is at a critical turning point, and everything, I mean everything, seems to circle back to the woman who was found by the river. With Cabral gone, investigators are now laser-focused on what she may have left behind. The thinking is that the key to unlocking this entire conspiracy could be locked away on her phone and her work computer. So now it's basically a race against time. The Ombudsman is making moves to get a cyber warrant, which is a court order that would let them legally access all of that digital evidence. This would let them secure and analyze everything, potentially finding names, transactions, messages, the kind of stuff that could blow this whole case wide open. And that's where we are now. An investigation hanging in the balance, a deep mystery around a key witness's death, and this really sobering final question. Because this scandal, it's not just about money that went missing. It's about the lost promise of safer homes, of better lives, and about the trust between people and their government just washing away. So it makes you wonder, when public funds vanish, what else is truly lost in the flood?